So you've been in the business for 33 years. What sort of when people when you come across new comics, do people say, "Right, Darren, could you suggest me a gig with this and that?" What common things do you often get from?
Oh, I don't think it happens. We used to seek out, and again, I'm not in that sort of group anymore. Maybe that there is a more of a gap now between me and people who are starting, and they probably don't know anything about myself, or there'll be a lot of comics out there that have my experience and older, who all the new comics would have no idea about, because we no longer have that circuit in Sydney where and for example, like the Comedy Store has changed hands a couple of times, and our pictures are all up on the wall there, like from 30 years ago, but they don't employ too many of the comics that are on that wall. It's a
Ah,
very, yeah, it's sort of a bit sad that, there's a history on that wall that, but, you know, they don't put those many of those acts on. And I guess the respect for the older comics has changed a little over the years too, and that's the thing with the comedy industry. Everyone's got an ego. So all the new ones, I already think they're, oh, I'm already there, And we used to say, you had to do the hard yards, like you said before. You had to do those gigs. You had to do things. And I always used to think in the way of, like, if you're a pilot, you got to build your hours up before you can actually say you're a pilot. You're a pilot in training. But if you're a comic, you just have to do one open mic night, and all of a sudden, I'm a comedian, and you can tell people you're a comedian, even though you haven't made a cent or haven't really done any hard yards as such. It's just something that happens where I think it's a weird industry with respect now, that not a lot of the older comics maybe get it. And people don't really seek out advice. I don't feel like, maybe every now and then someone might ask you something, but they don't really want to sit down and say, hey, how can I do this, or what do you think of that? It's a trial and error thing, and it's probably why most comics are doing comedy, is because you get to star, act, and direct in your own play every night, and you don't have to listen to anybody else. Hopefully they can record it and watch it back, and learn and look at that and look at what worked, what didn't work. That's something that, a lot of people are doing now anyway. But yeah, it's I don't think it's a thing where people seek out people's opinions in the comedy world. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I I what do I want to ask on this? If there is one bit of advice you want to give to new comics, what would you give them though? If they were to ask you, if they wanted to start in Sydney and wanted to
All right. Number
get better.
one, do not open with, "How's everybody going tonight?" Rodney Dangerfield said this. He goes, "I'll tell you how they're going. They want to fucking laugh."
Ha!
Right? Because it's a waste of time. You get up there, if you get your 5 minutes, don't waste time with, "How's everyone doing tonight?" We know how they're doing. They're there. They want to hear a joke. Go out there, hit them with a joke straight away. Bang. The other thing is, stick to time. You know, so it doesn't matter what you do in between. If you're dying, you get off early, you can do that, but don't go overtime. Never go overtime, especially on those lineups where you've got 8 people before a headliner comes on. You got 8 people doing 2 minutes over. That headliner's going to come on way too late, and I always think most of those lineups are too long anyway. Like, even now, you look at shows and at people's attention spans, I think you're better off giving them 2 great comics than giving them 5 ordinary comics. So yeah, I think that's probably the two things: stick to time, don't ask people how they are.
Yeah, that is such a big trope, isn't it? That
Be
I hear
polite
that all
too.
the
Bloody
time.
be polite to the person that books you too, and thank the person that books you, and spread the word about whatever gig you're doing. That's the other thing. If you're on a gig, and let people know, and put a link to where the tickets are too. Don't just go, "I'm on at this gig," because people, again, are really lazy on socials of booking tickets. Sure, we're all on socials, and you flick through and you go, "Oh, there's a gig." But if you got to make it easy for people to then go, "Oh, if you are on there," and generally it's your close friends that might come to you. You're not going to pull crowds of random people coming because of a post. But if you put the link to the ticket on there, at least people can then just go click, and they're there. They don't have to fuck around with looking up, oh, where are you on? I'm going to look up there. And then next thing you know, they're sidetracked and they're looking at something else online. So, yeah, it's probably it's probably more business side of things than it is for material side, I guess.